Hello and welcome to Immunity, the makeover for literally helping people understand that the power that made the body heals the body and what compromises our immunity versus what builds our immunity and empowers us to really live a healthier life through the integration of the five essentials, max living, and chiropractic care. And what does that mean? That understanding that our lives are really, and our health, our immune systems are really determined by our lifestyles. And the reality is that, they estimate anywhere from 70 to 90% of our diseases that we see here in the world are lifestyle and environmental related. So, I think that the awareness of that is both daunting and empowering, but our mindset here is to turn the knowledge into the change that does allow you to experience the faith over the fear through understanding how to make you one of those people who has a stronger immune system, your family, your church, your workplace, all those things that you value and care about. And so one of the biggest things I like to open with is that, there is nothing that a doctor can do to undo what a patient won't do. That mindset, there's nothing a doctor can do to undo what a patient won't do. Meaning the lifestyle that is causing the diseases, if we don't correct that, then there's really nothing the doctor can do. And we have a whole system that has really lied to us, and we have to understand that it's what it's gotten us. This whole system that says, no, you can destroy everything, do whatever you want, and there'll be a pill, lotion, potion, supplement, tincture, oil, wwhatever, something will be able to save you. And so don't look at the statistics that say that 90% is lifestyle related. Just buy this stuff, which is clever marketing. It's great for them, and it's terrible for us. And the World Health Organization, the OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Wow, what a mouthful. Of the 38 of the richest countries of the World Health Organization and the World Health Organization, Harvard newsletter, they all agree we have the worst healthcare system on the planet of the rich nations. And so this is what we spend, we realize, or what often people don't realize, $3.7 trillion. The concept is, look at that. If you were going to count every second, one number a second, unceasing, never sleeping, 24 hours a day, it would take you 42 and 3/4 days to count to 3.7 million. Look at that. 3.7 billion is 117 years, and 3.7 trillion is basically 2,000 years. Never sleeping, counting a second. If we equated a second to $1, that's how long it would take you to count to that many dollars. And with that mind-boggling perspective, we understand then why that amount of money, that amount of profit, and that amount is driving our system, with the fact that 62% of the bankruptcies in the United States are due to major medical bills. And so the immune systems are compromised. The health is compromised. And, we saw then, now we're going to be learning about what that extra 16 trillion over the last 3 years has done to us. Mind-boggling, and so we have to be realistic about what we're getting for that. And, ranking last among all those rich nations, I really don't have a concept. It's hard for me to name 37 countries off the top of my head, much less that I thought had better healthcare than us. And then we understand then that the fourth leading cause of death before COVID was the third leading cause of death is the healthcare system itself, iatrogenic death. So those are the numbers, with heart disease leading the way always, most years anyway. Cancer, 600,000 people going to die this year, by the end of the year. And then the looking at 2021 statistics for 350,000 people dying from COVID. Understanding how their immune systems play a role in that. And, we'd like to think that our children are better, but unfortunately, cancer is the second leading cause of death in our children right after accidents. So obviously, the immune systems are compromised. And so many people would then fall back and say, well, that's genetics, right? No, American Cancer Society says only 10% of their estimate is genetic cancer of all the cancers, but 5% of that 10% is what the lifestyle does to the genome. So then you have to step back and say, well, wait a second. The kids that are getting cancer haven't been smoking for 20 years. They haven't been drinking and doing drugs, and they weren't whatever, So is that the second leading cause of death? Well, it's the environment that they grew in the womb. It's what they're being exposed to through the mother. Then at birth, the studies show at least 287 different chemicals in the umbilical cord blood. They snipped the umbilical cords. They send it off to the lab. They're finding at least 287 different chemicals that are latent inside that umbilical cord. We see that, I have to bring up the bottom there, 1 in 59, 1 in 34 on the autism spectrum disorder, neurodevelopmental disorders, when the fact is in 1983, it was approximately 1 in 50,000. So that's 40 years ago, folks. It's not like we're talking about the 1800s. We're talking 1983, 1 in 50,000. So what's the deal? Obviously, it shows us that our environment, the things that we're doing to ourselves, the way we're compromising our immune systems, are compromising us. And the system itself is, it's 3.7 trillion a year in healthcare expenditures, to which a lot of these companies are profiting. So our sickness is their money. And so the best way to get yourself out of that is to reduce your prevalence of cancer, reduce your prevalence of heart disease, to reduce your prevalence of diabetes, by taking ourselves out of this generation of fear that has created this segregation in society, greater and dividing all people. It's not color, it's not race, religion, gender, it's everybody. It's spanning all aspects of life, in this acceptance of the fact that some people believe the germ theory just completely, in saying that the virulence of the bug versus how much you get determines how sick that you are. And period. And that you have no control over that. And so science from the outside has to give you something because you're innately flawed. God created junk, they think, and we'll just, we'll be able to save you through outside-in medical model. But the reality, just like the children and their prevalence in cancer, it's not the genetics. It's not, otherwise, if it was just genetics, those parents would have never lived long enough to have the children. So the germ theory, same thing. If it was just about those bugs, then when the flu went through an office building, everyone would get it. And each would get equally sick. If they were sitting right next to each other and the person walked up and sneezed on them, they would be relatively equally inoculated and be sick. But we saw a great 3-year period where we understand now that the unification across all spectrums was how sick the host was. And so that's what the terrain theory says, is that we want to take you out of the contaminated bowl and create a pristine environment to which you are living in. meaning that and I'm not talking about just the environment, because we can't control the storms that will come at us from bacteria and viruses and fungi and all these different things that may come at us any more than we can control the weather. But we can control this environment that our soul lives in, our innate intelligence, if you want to use more of the scientific term. I'm a Christian, so I interchangeably flip between those. Now, understanding that you're either the fish in the contaminated bowl or you're the fish in the pristine bowl, meaning your spirit living inside of your body is the bowl. So which one are you? Which one do you think has a better chance of survival? And which one do you think has a better immune system? So which one are you going to be? And when we think about this, when we focus on the terrain theory, it empowers us. And that's why chiropractic has this amazing role in healthcare, real healthcare, understanding that it is the philosophy, science, and art of things natural. Before the colon, and then a system of adjusting the segments of the spine to remove the cause of dis-ease, dis-ease, very different than the singular word of disease, meaning a lack of harmony. Looking at the science, the philosophy, and the art, the philosophy and understanding of how the body really works, the science behind it, of understanding the interplay of how the immune system works, whether it's the Th1 or Th2 dominant immune systems, and how the immune systems develop and how to make them stronger, what weakens them, and then wrapping that into that vitalistic model that says you're more than the sum of your parts. And you're never just some of your parts, which is this mechanistic reductionist way of thinking that our current healthcare system is failing us with, where it's just treat the symptoms, the fever, the cough, the whatever, the aches, the pains, the cancer, the whatever, we're treating it. We're never dealing with the whole human being. Well, in vitalism, we understand that we can never make a full assessment of a human being. This innate soul spirit is our innate intelligence, whatever you want to call it, is more, and it can't be quantified. It's everywhere inside of us, yet nowhere. And it is the difference between if I fell dead onto the floor, right here, then it's the only thing that's missing is it. All the cells are still there, the blood's still there, the immune system's still there. The only difference is that unquantifiable something is left, but it is that unquantifiable something that is running our bodies. And we want to look at the causes of dis-ease, the lack of expression of life, because this stuff, all this in it, this body has material things, have a shelf life. But that unquantifiable something is eternal. And so, and it can leave. And so at that point, we have to try to remove the barriers to the expression of it through this stuff that it lives in. And there's three main causes that we have to break down into that cause the body to not regenerate well. And those are toxicities in the body, or deficiencies in the body, or a lack of control of the cells with the tissues becoming the organs, and the organs being controlled inside of this body as a whole to maintain us in homeostasis. Now, our immune systems and our bodies must be resilient. They can be challenged with a virus. How much can they expand and deal with and then come back to homeostasis? A bacteria, a temperature change, or whatever. And how challenged can our immune system be? Go out there to destroy it and then return back to normal without creating things like autoimmunity and things like that, where we literally lose the ability to distinguish self from non-self. And so our immune systems are adaptive, and we start out as a child with none. And then our mothers are our shield. Then after birth, we are hopefully given our immune system through the immunoglobulins that are inside of the breast milk. And then as our bodies become exposed to the outside world, the mother is being exposed at the same rate the child is. Then the mother is developing the antibodies and giving them to the child. And then those are lining the body and being circulated to protect the child. Then as the exposure rates increase, the child's immune system is challenged and it grows in its awareness, in depth, and how broad spectrum it is. We learned during the last several years, especially, that the natural immunity is very differently stimulated than the, let's see here if I can grab a demonstration. Yeah, let's use a pen. Hopefully we can see that pretty good. Or maybe this will be a little more distinctive. Yeah, reflex hammer, that works better. So we'll look at the difference is that the presentation is one thing. Normally we encounter viruses and bacteria we have the barrier of the skin, so it usually comes in through the mucous membranes, through breathing it in, or through our eyes, mouth, things like that, through our digestive tract. And so then it goes through and it infects the body. It's then gobbled up by the immune system, the natural killer cells, the phagocytes, whether you want, they're all lymphatic cells, T lymphocytes. They gobble it up, take back that to the spleen or the thymus. It's presented to the body in its entirety. All the pieces are chewed up. All of it is taken back. And we see here that if we think of it as the virus, and we'll now talk about, COVID-19, and that this chunk right here we'll say is this is the main protein, or that this is the whole virus here. And this is what they decided to form the vaccine against. And so we have this main piece here that we said was going to be the least changing, and it was the most important, and it's that spike protein. And so we'll form the antibody here, or write the immunoglobulin piece of RNA and put it into the body with these chemicals that make it absorbed by the system. Then it'll go back, it'll be written out by the mitochondria and be produced, the virus spike protein, the body will produce antibodies against it. And this is the most important piece of the whole virus. Well, in natural immunity, this is chewed up, the whole virus. And the whole virus was about 33,000 nucleotides long, whereas the spike protein was 3,500 nucleotides long. And so this is the only piece that the vaccine had the opportunity to provide immunity to. While this might be more variant, and the variants have changed, and there are different genetic mutations which make antibodies to this whole part. If it changes here, then that antibody won't work as well. But the antibody right next to it of the other 33,000 nucleotides longer, let's just say 30,000, because this was 3,500. So now those are still available. Wherever the genetic mutations have not happened to the original virus, now they're still available. And that's why that natural immune system being presented to the immune system, or the whole virus being presented to the immune system versus just the protein, creates more opportunity for a varying broader spectrum B cells, memory B cells, producing antibodies that go out and fight it. Not to mention that vaccines in general are they're wounds, they're injections into muscular tissue that is a wound. The immune system goes there, and until it gets there and sees the danger chemicals that are the adjuvants inside of any vaccine that elicit the danger response, things like aluminum hydroxide, thimerosal, these poisons, are then the body says, ooh, we better get more of different kind of T cells, not just the kind that chew up the dead tissue, but we've got an infection here, a problem. it grabs it, and then so it's not the right, and takes it back to the immune system, but it's not the right presentation. It's not the normal sequence of events that the immune system uses. So again, it's another flaw. So that's the reality of why the natural has produced better immunity, broader immunity, longer immunity, and everyone across all platforms is recognizing that. It's just unfortunate that it wasn't allowed to be and was shut down. It wasn't allowed to be propagated as the right or equal to, so that people could have a choice. Now, every person should have a choice to have as many shots, as many boosters, as many whatever as they want, but every person should also be allowed to affect their immune system, develop their immunity without any kind of sanction or inability to function inside of society, inside of schools, inside of anywhere, to hold an office, to be in government, to go into a building, because that they chose the better path, the natural immunity that has proven to be yet again stronger and longer. And so neither should the person be held out that it wants to choose the artificial that is weaker and less effective. And that's up to them. But either way, it's affecting the immune system. Now, we want to develop a healthy immune system, and dosage matters. Just like I wouldn't give my 5-year-old the same amount of Tylenol that I would myself if I was trying to reduce the fever, even though I wouldn't take the Tylenol. But the idea is that dosage matters. And so one of the reasons I referenced 1983 was that in 1983, our children at 6 months got 5 vaccine doses, whereas today they're getting 17 vaccine doses, yet they're approximately about the same weight. Granted, even the 6-month-olds might be a little fatter these days than the average was back then. Even more so, maybe 10 pounds heavier by age 5 or 20. But it's still not significant enough to warrant 33 doses versus 10 doses. And so as looking of toxicities, deficiencies, and loss of control as the 3 causes of dis-ease, meaning a lack of function in the body, a lowering of the immune system, we have to count that this could possibly be one of them. And one more reason, we have 1 in 34 in some areas and 1 in 59 on the autism spectrum, instead of in 1983, 1 in 50,000. And so this is a thought process of understanding where we are at to help us develop a new course, right? You can't change where you're going if your direction, unless you know where you want to go. And you have to know where you are, then you have to know where you want to be. And to chart this new course with the understanding, if we're looking at this from a perspective of healthcare systems, then we can't solve the current problems with the current level of thinking that created them. Kind of smart guy, Albert Einstein, pretty much coined that one. Understanding that the system is a great business model and that the pharmaceutical companies have zero fault or held zero accountability monetarily for their problems. It doesn't matter what vaccine it is or what gene therapy. It is that the system is set up to have a separate court system that says you take it, you have a swollen arm, no big deal. The next person takes it, and you miss work for a couple of days and feel really terrible and the whole body hurts. And now that's even being spun into meaning that your immune system's being challenged, you're having a better immune system response. And how amazing the corporate wheels will spin to turn problems for that person into possible good thing, right? And the next person takes it and they die or have heart problems and clotting disorders and things like that. Doesn't matter what happens, zero accountability. So it's perfect business model. This again, liberating ourselves with knowledge to allow ourselves to release the doctor within. The greatest doctor is inside of you. Removing interference to the expression of that healing capability, just like that power that created you, made you from one cell all the way to the person that you are today, and runs your body subconsciously without you having to make 90-something% of the decisions to stay alive. It's doing so in the background. We want to get ourselves out of the way, so to speak, and let it function properly with less toxicities, less deficiencies, and better control. And so, again, back to that burden of disease being environmental and or lifestyle. So let's talk about the fact, the first subluxation, the first big problem is the mindset that says, I don't have time to be well. If you don't make time for your wellness, well, then you better make time for your illness. You better have had your, taken all that time, saved up a bunch of money, because 62% of the bankruptcies are from major medical bills. And so you gotta have enough money saved up to go through treatment for whatever it is, to miss work for whatever it is, and to, make sure that life goes on, and that some other family member can quit their job and take care of you too, and then get back to work, and hopefully they keep your job and all those kinds of things. That's the mindset that says, in all reality, it's too expensive not to take care of yourself. And so we want to create that faith over the fear, with the understanding of what impacts that we have control over. That power that made our body heals our body. And again, we're removing the 3 causes of disease through the impact of the 5 essentials and maximizing our health potential through realizing that the human body is a self-healing, self-regenerating organism, and it will do the job if we get out of the way. So the solution is in the lifestyle to the 90%, right? 10% outliers. I will focus on the 90% all day long. And so with chiropractic, a focus on nutrition, the mindset unifying, that vitalistic mindset to optimize our internal environment through removing those toxicities, deficiencies, and the loss of control, the exercise and oxygen, and minimizing toxins. Again, that 5 essentials, well-rounded approach is the solution for the 90%. And so if that makes sense to you innately, your body responds to that and says, okay, yeah, I'd like to empower myself. I would like to have better control. I'd like to have faith over fear, because another storm is inevitable to come. And I want to make sure that myself and my family are in that percentage that, well, what turned out to be somewhere in the 90-something% survival rate, but maybe something is worse next time, and I want to improve my margins even better. Or how about even more simply, we want to avoid having cancer. We don't want to survive it. We want to avoid it. We want to have better immune systems to beat any virus or bacteria or anything that comes around, so that we can have the best quality and quantity of life, so that we can go out there and be the best version of us, to be good stewards of our talents, and to make the world a better place. And I hope, if that's resonating with you, that you'll just click into the next segment where the 5 essentials get implemented, and we understand how they play a role in minimizing your risk for cancer, what's causing cancer, what's limiting our immune systems to destroy cancer, and how that plays a role also inside of our humoral immunity and our T-cell immunity. So see you here for Immunity 102 in just a little